Hello and welcome to Fire in the Belly. Today we have myself, Mighty Pete, and we're joined by Mindy Gibbins-Klein. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Wonderful, doing mighty well. Listen, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's an absolute pleasure. So tell us, Mindy, who are you? What are you doing? Where are you from?
Okay. Oh, where I'm from, yeah. Because people will start to notice. I was born in New York and went and lived in Argentina, did my university in Canada, and I've been in the UK for 29 years. So I don't know where I'm from, all those places. What do I do? Well, I try to help people feel fulfilled by helping them get their message out, usually in the form of a book in print, but also building a platform, a profile, and speaking. So it's we call it thoughtful leadership. That's you can see here. That's my latest book, and yes, I've written a few books, 9 in fact, and I'm known for helping other people do their books through the Book Midwife and Panoma Press, my publishing company. But it's all about getting a message across. Hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. So give us a rundown of the 9 books. So
I'm going to lose count, actually. I know the ones that I've authored, and then there's the ones I've co-authored. But you can see 2 right here.
Mm-hmm.
So 24 Karat Bold was my first book about thought leadership. The Thoughtful Leader is kind of like Thought Leadership 2.0. My first book was A Dance in the Desert, which was a tribute to a friend of mine. Big long story that I sometimes tell, and you never know, we might talk about it later, but a friend of mine who is no longer with us, and the struggles that he had with epilepsy. And that really launched my career, because back then in 2001, writing a book was not such a popular thing. I mean, something a lot of people wanted to do, but it wasn't so easy to publish, and lots of other challenges. So I did that. I wrote another book with a colleague called Your Book in 100 Days, but I'm redoing it to make it a little bit more modern and talk about social media a bit more. And I've co-authored 5 books. I've edited a book about professional speaking. I've edited a book about being an entrepreneur, and collaborated on 3 other global books.
Wow. So yeah, you've been kind of busy, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's 19 years worth, but still, I want to get that 10th book done, because 10 seems like a really good number, but I'm busy now with other people's books.
But it's always that thing, right? You'll get to 10 and then you're like, well, 12 sounds like a good number too.
100. I'll be aiming for 100. It's not quantity, it's quality, right? So
sure.
say. Yeah.
Let's start with the basics then. Why write a book?
Well, if you have a story or a message, if you've done something or had something happen to you and you really want to share it, mm-hmm. A lot of people think, oh, I'd like to write a book. And it is great if it's done with the right intention, if it's done with the right amount of professionalism. Look, I'm the one who coined the phrase, every book deserves to be written. And then when I started the publishing company, I changed it to every book deserves to be written and published. Not a lot of people agree with that, because they see people putting things together and amateurish or self-publishing, and so they think, oh, right, that book doesn't deserve to be out there. No, it's someone's personal story, their take on the world, their expertise, those kind of books that we work with, or fiction, which I don't work with, but how could someone else stop you writing something if you feel the need to express? So it's complicated. I'm not here to judge or play God or anything like that. If somebody really wants to do it and it's not happening, which is most people, then we step in with one of our brands and help make sure they get the clarity and the confidence, and they do it fast, and they're happy with the result.
That's an interesting point. Is fast, is that key? Is that...
Well, the books that we do, think about it, a thought-leading book is leading edge, cutting edge. So if you mess about or do what most people do and take 2.5 years to just get it written, and then the publishing time and the window might have closed or things might have changed. I mean, who expected this that we're going through today as we speak? So to be relevant, you want to get it done quite fast, but also to maximize what we call the ROI. Well, we don't, we're not the only ones that call it that, the return on the investment. The investment of time and effort and money, you want to start recouping that fast, I think, because I work mostly with entrepreneurs and business professionals. So it's not just like, oh, you know, this is a fun thing to do. The book is really important to them for their profile. So, you know, that's why they want to do it fast. Otherwise, they don't benefit for a long time.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I'll tell you, just out of interest, is this a good time for books? I mean, obviously
it's always a good time.
Okay.
There's no bad time to write it. There are a couple of, well, generally, traditionally, there's a couple of bad months to publish a book. August and December were always, you know, people were away, and, you know, but this year is a bit different. We published books in August and we're publishing quite a few in December because we don't think everybody will be away and as busy as they normally are. And, you know, so it's not really about that. It's about the right time for you. If you're an aspiring author, what's the right time for you to launch yourself into the market as an expert in your field? That's, you know, as I say, that's a priority for us, is launching that person and their profile.
Oh, wow. Take us right back. And what is, you know, what's your fire in the belly then? You know, what does it mean to you?
For me, it is about expressing something that's inside, not keeping it inside. Some people quote, I don't even know who said it. I think a lot of people say, you know, don't die with the song still in you. I would say don't die with the book or the story still in you, or the message. 24 Karat Bold, as you know, we were talking about, was the first time that I was very bold and encouraged other people to be bold. And the phrase back then was, be bold and opinionated, yet respectful. And that hasn't changed. So normally, I mean, we're in the UK, right? So we're a little bit more reserved. I suppose in Ireland, you know, you're a little bit more bold, but, you know, a lot of people hold back saying that thing they really want to say, because it's like, oh, you know, hesitate what someone's going to think, and, you know, a lot of too much thinking and not enough boldness. So, but it's not boldness for the sake of it. It's not rudeness. It's not, you know, never disrespecting someone else's view or someone else's, you know, as a person. So I think that's the key thing. If you feel, you know, I want to help other people who have a fire in the belly, and just help them fulfill that dream that is possible. Show them it's possible, show them how to do it, and help them do it. And it's so rewarding, more rewarding than writing my own books, because that was just like, okay, I want to write this next book, but helping someone else to express themselves, you know, that like you do, right? We're in the, you know, helping other people feel better, do more, you know, it's lovely, isn't it?
No, absolutely. And are you clear why you wrote your original book? I mean, and why you do what you do?
You want me to tell you the story, and shall I, you know, tell the listeners about? Okay.
Sure.
I'll give you the condensed version. Nearly 30 years ago, I can't remember when it all started, but I was living in the States still. And so it was more than 30 years ago. A friend of mine who I worked with, he fell down a flight of stairs at a client site, and he hit his head at the bottom of the stairs. He didn't die. He had multiple seizures, and so was diagnosed with epilepsy. So I didn't know anything about epilepsy back then. Most of the people we knew didn't know anything. And it was kind of like a stigma. You just picture these, you know, out of control seizures, and it's very scary. I didn't really know how to help him, and he was the kind of person who would say, oh, I'm fine, and, you know, just big smile on the face. And we were in our 20s, so, you know, you're not that mature, and you just think, oh, I don't know what to do or say. Anyway, to make a very long story short, he had a seizure at work. They managed to lay him off, and he had complications from medications. It didn't control the seizures. It made him depressed, and he took his own life at age 27. So I was nearly 27, and I really didn't cope with that very well. I went through all the stages of guilt and grief and anger and this and that. But it was around the time that I was moving to the UK. So I focused on that and packed my bags and my bike and came over here. But then it was there. I mean, you can't push something like that under the rug. And I was at a retreat in somewhere near Norwich or Ipswich. And it was just quiet. And I'd let go of everything else. And I just got this vision and, tears streaming down my face. And I really, really wanted to tell his story. Because you know what? People were saying, oh, it's a sin to take your life. Some people they come from that belief system. But I just felt so angry that he wasn't here to explain. And I thought, you have no idea what he was going through. So I made the commitment at that retreat, and I managed to get the whole book written in about a year. But then I had challenges to get a publisher, because back then it wasn't so easy. This was, before the millennium. And it went on and it went on and it went on. And, I'd send it out, I'd get rejections. That would make me less determined and less confident, to the point where I very nearly gave up. And then my sister said, look, there's this company, it's kind of like self-publishing, you have to pay, but if you want to see the book in print. And so I said, yeah, I really do, because the millennium had come and gone. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, we're in another decade and century and millennium now. And the book still not in print, and the message is still not getting out there. And I wanted to give money to the epilepsy charities. Anyway, I just did it. I just grabbed the bull by the horns, and I said, I have to get this book in print. And we did. And then I joined forces with the epilepsy charity here in the UK, Epilepsy Action. I studied and became an accredited volunteer. I did talks with them. I got involved in the charity. I gave proceeds from the book to charity. I felt good that things were happening. So that was the start. I thought that would just be it. I had just gone self-employed. This 2001 was a crazy time, because I had my own coaching business, I had my own marketing consultancy, and I had a new book. And I started, going out to networking meetings and saying, well, I have two companies, coaching and marketing, and I have this book. And all people cared about was the book. But I'll stop there, because that's where the book midwife was born, so to speak. But, that book was, if I hadn't done it and seen it all the way through, and by the way, by the time it was published, it was 10 years nearly to the day from when I decided to write it. And that's too long, that it wasn't out there helping people.
Was the book, do you think, for you, or was the book for your friend, or what was your sort of take with it? I mean, it sounds like it was almost that long gestation period.
Well, it didn't need to be that long. I mean, the thing that took the longest, so the first year, I mean, the book was done, but then I had all these so-called experts saying, oh, you need to add a bit of this or change that, and I listened to them all. I'd change it, and I'd get another rejection, and so, but the thing that was always there was I wanted to tell this story. I love writing. I always have done. Come from a family of writers, not well-known, successful. Well, they're successful in that they wrote, but not recognized in world household names or anything. But I enjoyed the writing, but I wanted to tell that story. And I thought it was important as a tribute to my friend, as I've said, and to help other people understand a bit more about epilepsy. Because when I first met with somebody from the Epilepsy Research Foundation, she said, yeah, it's more common than you would think that people get, so upset and depressed, and they think there's no other way, and they commit suicide. And I thought, yeah, this is not right. I feel I need to do something. I can't bring my friend back, but I could help someone else. So that was really at the heart of it.
Wow. So thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's, I can see why, it's obviously had a profound effect on you.
Yeah.
So tell me, what triggered the move from New York to the UK?
There was a number of things. I had been trying to make a career move. I was getting divorced, or I was already divorced, in fact. So I was kind of free, if you want to call it that. I had rented out my house, sold my stuff. I was going to move to either New York or London. And London seemed more exciting and closer to Europe. Well, it is closer to Europe. And I just thought it would be much more interesting. And a crazy boyfriend of mine said he was moving here. So I went, okay. I didn't give it that much thought. I didn't know how long I'd stay. I think sometimes, I'm a good planner, but sometimes when you're impulsive, it's exciting. It's a different kind of fire in the belly, like the unknown. But that's how I arrived at the decision, and that's how I arrived here and managed to stay. Next month, it'll be 29 years.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah.
So take us all the way back then. So Mindy, who are we meeting?
You mean
Junior,
personally, professionally?
junior you, right back to born and siblings and
Oh, no.
family and where you grew up.
So I do have 3 sisters. I have my mom's still here and a good role model. She's worked for herself for 45 years as a realtor, estate agent. I've got lots of cousins and nephews and nieces, quite a big family, but mostly back in the States. And I am very high energy, and this is me like controlling it. You really don't want to see me bouncing off the walls. But I think it's great because I bring that energy to everything I do every day, my clients, my family, I don't know if anybody would call me a boring person, hopefully not. But, I'm quite determined. When I decided I'd move to the UK, I did it. When I just set up companies, I've been serious about it. When I had a company, one of my companies was in trouble. I fixed it. And I'm not one for making excuses. So, I like to bring a smile, a bit of positive energy to every situation. I think, I've been blessed with a really nice childhood with, I wasn't wanting anything. And I think some good role models, as I say, mom, dad, and his writing, and lots of opportunities. I was living in the States, but we traveled and we met people from different countries, and so that kind of opened my mind about things. And I think that's another aspect that I've managed to keep. There's lots of places I haven't gone, lots of things I haven't done, but just you wait.
So I don't know, 7-year-old Mindy, who would we have met? What sort of character were you?
I was writing my little stories.
So even at that point, you were writing.
Oh yeah, I think. Well, I started reading at the age of 3, thanks to my dad, and then I was, when the other kids were learning to read, I was writing things, and the teacher used to staple them together and let me read them to the class. And possibly the other children weren't as impressed as I was with the teacher, but I was encouraged to do that. And I was a shy child. So, I had plenty of energy and I loved friends, but I was never like life of the party or anything like that. I'm still not. I still, I'm very picky. I have small circles of friends, lots of contact, lots of time for everybody, but I don't like partying for the sake of it or anything like that. So that stayed with me the whole time. When I went to university, I wanted to finish early and get married, but that was my practice marriage, which didn't work out the way I thought it would. But I was determined, and I did a 4-year degree in 3 years because I just wanted to finish. So I guess quite determined and serious, and ambitious or whatever, but not crazy, not like some people where they'll do something and they'll go after it, at all costs. It's tempered, and it's been tempered by living here, which I think makes me quite balanced.
That's interesting. You're obviously quite focused in what you do. So, shortening degree times and things like that, and knowing what you want. And where does that come from?
Coffee? No.
Hey, I'm right up there. Don't worry.
No, I that just keeps it going. um, I don't know, because I have plenty of stories about my parents, doing things, but there's a whole story that I tell from stage about my dad putting his writing career on hold to do a sensible thing like going into education, and he only started writing again when he retired. So I have no idea the parallel universe where he would have just said, no, I'm going to be a writer. And I have no idea how that would have turned out. Where does my focus come from? I mean, education was important in our family, but not so much pressure, so much as just, opportunities. I was very lucky. One of my early mentors, so when I started work, I had a mentor who was head of the training department. So when I finished university, that's another whole story. I didn't do what I'd studied. I had to then pivot, as they call it now, and I ended up in being a trainer, a sales trainer. And the guy who was running it had been trained by Tony Robbins, and I'm sure everybody's heard of Tony Robbins, I hope, Anthony Robbins. And he was, this was in the 1980s. I know, I'm older than I look. So he was sharing this with us, and we developed a whole goal-setting process. I was 23. So I got my hands on some really, really good personal development content in my early 20s. And I have to reflect back and think, yeah, that was a pivotal time. That was kind of a defining moment where I could have thought, oh, I already have my work, I have my marriage, as it was. Can I be bothered to take on all this extra stuff? It stood me in very good stead, Pete, because when I came over here to the UK, it's one of the things that I did and still do. I'm still involved in personal development. And I ended up going through all of the Tony Robbins programs, became a senior leader with them. I'm still in the team, but I don't tend to support that many events because my businesses took off so much that it's really, hard to take a week or 10 days out for live events. Maybe now I'll get back involved with it being virtual. That'd be great. So that was, I would say, Tony's amazing. He's the #1 personal development guru, expert, whatever you want to call him. He's brilliant. I've met him many times and honestly believe that my life was changed because I was one of the millions of people who have had their lives changed by him. So yeah, where does the focus come from? Probably that as well.
That's awesome, because I mean you've put yourself in a position to be exposed to that and push yourself forward there really as well.
Yeah. I mean, I guess people go to, they might listen to one of his programs. Everything's, online now, or they might attend something or, virtual or in person, but they don't always do the hard work. And, you have to ask yourself at every step, am I willing to do this? Am I willing to make this sacrifice? I mean, the very first event, I don't know if you know about Tony's events, but the very first time you go, you're up till, midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 in the morning, and that's just because, he will keep going until he has the result, and that people in the room have the result, I should say. And that was something, I mean, I always kind of went to bed at a normal time. And so you start to expand your ideas, and some people will be like, I'm not doing this, I need my sleep. Or I'm not doing, I'm not going on the health, the nutrition plan that he suggests because, I like my cake. So I don't know, there's a lot. Yeah, I think every single person is born with the ability to do the hard work, to make the tough decisions, to make sacrifices, to change their lives or improve their lives. And, continuous improvement is there for all of us. And it's a series of decisions that we make every single day, multiple times a day. And I did really learn that at the coalface, at Tony's events and from the man himself. It's a choice. And some people choose to have the easy life, the lazy life. What I did once I was exposed to, the expanded thinking, I couldn't go back. It's like the rubber band stretched to the point where it won't go back.
You can't unlearn what you've learned.
Right. Well, some people try, they ignore it, or they think I've learned that, but you know what? I'm not willing to do what it takes. I mean, that's what it is, right? I mean, I don't do too much goal setting coaching now. I still can do it because I've got the methodology that I brought from the States, from my mentor, and it's rewarding. I don't have time at the moment to do extra stuff. But the one thing about goal setting, step 6 out of 7 in the methodology that I use, is decide if you're going to commit and pay the price. I mean, and if you say no, that's fine, but decide. Don't say, I'm going to lose weight, and keep saying that for 14 years and never do anything. Decide and say, you know what? No, I like being a fat couch potato. That's just, and that you'll feel more authentic and well, just whatever you're going to feel.
It's so true. I've been to multiple of Tony's events, and and for me, that's kind of where Fire in the Belly came about, and that
Ooh.
you sort of, not making a decision is a decision. It might be an
Yes.
unconscious one, but it is a decision. It's saying, yeah, I'm gonna run the marathon. Never signed up. I didn't buy the shoes. I didn't do that. So
Yeah.
that's okay. But we beat ourselves up, right?
Yeah, I think, when you get to a certain age, I'm a bit older than you, but you realize that lying to yourself is kind of pointless. You know you're lying. I mean, other people may not. You could be really, clever and fool people, but if you're lying to yourself, and so that creates that inner conflict, and that is a real waste of energy. And I don't like waste, and I love energy. So wasting energy is like a sin in my book.
Tell me, what were you going to be originally when you grew up?
Well, the word in the 1970s was actress. It's now called actor, of course, politically correct. But yeah, I I just wanted to be on the stage and on TV, and I've done both, but not as an actor or actress or anything, just.
That's quite a switch then from, 7-year-old, you describe yourself as a shy child, and then bang, you want you want limelight.
You might be surprised, or maybe not, at how many actors are actually very shy, introverted. Their natural personality and the way they come alive is on the stage or with the camera on them. Because I think, and I've heard other experts say that this is why they get into it, so that they can actually have a kind of alter ego and be someone else who's not shy and introverted. I'm no longer shy and introverted. I just decided at some point that I didn't need to pursue acting as a career to fulfill my dreams. Not only that, but Dad said, you're not studying that. So I didn't go to performing arts school. And it was the right decision. At the time, I wasn't so sure. But and of course, I could have gone back to it at any time. But it was just one way of fulfilling the dream. And I think that's another message that, I work with clients and I have these discussions with friends. There isn't just one way to fulfill your dreams. We get fixated on things. So you've studied personal development, Pete. You know what I mean? You can get too focused and, really too stubborn about something. And there's another approach, as Tony says, or there's another way, or there's another, goal that is going to give you the same amount of satisfaction. But we become too entrenched in only one possible path to that goal. And that's a shame. So I think, having the ability to be divergent in your thinking and to see possibilities is one of the skills that the top skills needed today. And, and when I speak to young people in schools, that's one of the things that I talk about is, being open and understanding and recognizing when you're not being open, and the balance between having a goal and being determined and being fixated on something where it's actually going to hold you back and make you feel upset. So finding a way.
And through your college, I mean, you mentioned a sort of a speed wobble through your college time, and you sort of came out with something different than you went in with. I mean,
Hmm.
what was that just? Well, tell me what happened, or what was the thought process?
Well, I studied linguistics because I do love language, written, spoken, and I had an ear for foreign languages. So I had studied Spanish from the age of 9. Went to Argentina, as I say, where I became fluent, and studied French from the age of about 12, 13. And then when I went to university, I took on Latin, Italian, and German, as you do. And linguistics was, encouraging me to look at language and how it's set up and the rules, and that's really the science of language, which I liked. So I like science as well. And this helped me put together a few things that I liked. But the natural progression for somebody who does a linguistics degree is typically either you're going to be a translator, interpreter, translator. So I did one advanced course in that and thought, oh, too much pressure for me. Or applied linguistics, so language teaching, or speech therapy. These are the kind of practical outcomes. So I applied to do a master's in, I don't think I sent off the application. Speech therapy was the thing I was going to do. And I can't remember if I applied or not. All I know is I dropped out of that process and thought, hey, I don't want to stick my fingers in someone's mouth. I just, that was my thing. And it just didn't give me the fire in the belly, to be honest. So then I was leaving with this degree and no practical outcome with it. So I did what a lot of people do. I went into sales, where, you can have a bit of fun, and especially, in the 1980s. Let's just leave that. And I had, a fantastic time with 2 or 3 different companies. It's fun. People might think, oh, sales, oh, rejection. But once you learn a process, and then as I ended up teaching that process, it just becomes a bit of a game, and games are fun, or they're supposed to be. So my linguistics came in handy because in between jobs, I have taught French, Spanish, and English as a foreign language to adults and kids. I have managed translation projects. I haven't done them because that's not what I want to do, but I have let's just say an appreciation for the skill that goes into all these different things. And I just love language. German and I don't have a great relationship, but it's because of the articles and the declensions and yeah. But I just couldn't get, der, die, das. I wasn't willing to do what it takes, to go back to what I was saying before. Of course, I could have memorized all that stuff, but that was my 5th language, and I thought, you know what, no, I want to do something else. Japanese I picked up instead. Honestly, I will always love language, and I will speak Spanish or French anytime I get a chance. And I feel, well, this is something that I haven't explored, but I really feel that we have different aspects of our personality, and a language is not just language, because there's cultural references, and without getting into too much, but if anybody is interested in languages, they're getting something else. It's not just words coming out of your mouth, because I know I have a different personality when I am speaking Spanish. I mean, I speak with my hands quite a lot, as you may have noticed, keep it kind of under control, but when I'm speaking Spanish, oof, the sky's the limit. And French, my face is in a different position when I'm speaking French, and that does something to your muscle memory. And I know there's something there, and if I felt like doing a PhD, that's what I would do it in, possibly. I have too many other interests, but that fascinates me. Do you have a different personality or a different soul? I used to say I have a Latin soul, and nobody knew what that meant except other people who were bilingual in English and Spanish.
That is interesting. I mean, I was going to ask, do you have a default language that resonates most strongly with you?
Spanish is my second language. English was my native language. So you've always got one native language unless you were born in a truly bilingual household. but that's never even true, because there's always one dominant language. You know, I've got German friends and other friends who, you know, they speak that language to their kids, but the kids are exposed to lots of other languages, and one is always going to be the one that the kids gravitate to. I tried to teach my kids Spanish. This is before they understood the importance of languages. They didn't want to know. And I would start speaking Spanish, and they would say, no, 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 which is a Spanish word. So, you know, we got somewhere. But then it wasn't until I laid out the Skittles and the M&Ms in colors, and I said, when you say the color in Spanish, you can eat it. You know, that got some results. But yeah, some people are interested. Some people just have a natural flair. Some people get a belief in their head that they're not good at languages, but that's the same as a belief that I'm not good at ... whatever. You know, I can't stand it when people say I'm not good at, and I catch myself when I say I'm not good at, because there's a few things that, well, I'm not good at those, but I know why. It's because I didn't persevere. But anyway, that's another story. Yeah, my husband would tell you my big excuse. If you smile nicely, I'll tell you what happens in our household.
uh,
Want me to tell you?
Go for it.
So look, I'm all about words. I'm all about language, as we've been talking about. I said I talk with my hands, but I haven't spoken about, you know, using my hands to do anything practical or kinesthetic or, you know, 3D, spatial, you know, and all those kind of words. I'm fond of saying, I'm not spatial, I'm not visual, I'm not, you know. We walked into this house where we are, well, you can't see it anyway because it's a nice background, but there was so much potential to do an extension and to, you know, change this and change that. And my husband, this is what he studied, and his brain works this way, visual, spatial. And he walked in and he said, oh, we could do this, we could move the door there, we could do, and he made the mistake of saying, do you see? And I went, no. And that, you know, that has come up again and again and again. And I'll just say, I can't see it. And if I can't see it, I can't see it. And you can't force me to see it. And you know, I can't force you to speak French. And that's how we end every discussion about what you're good at and what you're not good at. We just agree to disagree. I know I could have developed that skill, probably still could, but I'm not willing to take time away from other things to do it.
I was struck at how kinesthetic your language is. You know, I mean, it's there. I mean, it's all, and it's not even like a soft kinesthetic. It's a hard kinesthetic. You know, which is curious considering the languages and the listening and the reading and that side. So I was, yeah, it's an interesting one.
But we all have everything, don't we? The VAKOF. No, whatever. The other two are olfactory and the taste one.
Yeah.
Gustatory.
Gustatory, yeah.
But yeah, most people don't lead with gustatory except chefs, maybe. But
yeah, if you love me, feed me. So, my wife's a bit like that, in fairness. If you don't feed her, God, it's like unleashing.
Oh my goodness.
But
well,
that's
for me,
story.
like the smell brings back memories. And I think for everybody, you know, we can access all of these things. So it's not, you know, I'm this or I'm that, or, you know, I'm an auditory, or that's stupid. I tend to say, of course, with these modalities, if I'm talking to people who know NLP or they've studied it or they're interested, I say, I'm primarily auditory. And then, you know, if they don't speak that language, I don't even go there. But I want people to understand the majority of the world is primarily visual. You may have noticed this, and maybe with your background and your self-awareness, you probably play to that. I don't know, but most people, they either don't know anything about that and they've never analyzed, you know, their preferences in terms of the modalities, or they might be fighting it on a daily basis. Some people are in the wrong jobs and they're not liking it because of something simple like that. I've chosen to do what I love: speaking, writing, helping others speak and write, working with words. So I'm very blessed that I understood it. I recognized it. I set my life up in my profession that way. So everything's in sync. Everything's, you know, coherent, and I'm happy every day. I have moments, but there's people who really should study that, but that's not what this interview is about, I guess.
No, there's loads. I mean, I kind of have a base default thing of, and you touched on it earlier. It's like, if you don't know your passion, you don't know what your fire in your belly is, then
Yeah.
everything else is just kind of, it's like tarmacking a swamp. It's just like, it's not going to last any length of time. It's going to fall apart because
Uh-huh.
your foundations aren't set. You haven't found your core purpose.
Right. Well, that's a really interesting analogy or metaphor, which I will probably remember now for a while. You pictured it, but then you said it, so I heard it. We're good. We can both access that. Yeah, but the fire in the belly. When I started as a life coach, because that made the most sense. I had the coaching background from the Tony Robbins stuff in the 80s. I had years of it. I can coach. I enjoyed that bit when, I asked the questions and people could discover, but some people need a lot of time with that. Some people need a lot of questions. Some people have such hardcore conditioning to get rid of. I wasn't willing to spend so much time doing that. And then, I used to get upset where people let themselves down or said they wanted to achieve something. You would have caught a glimpse of that before when I said, don't lie to yourself. But I didn't understand it back then. And I was like, yeah, but we agreed you were going to do X, Y, Z. And then you didn't do it. And I wasn't a very good coach because I just wanted to say, look, do this, do that. I can see it. And if I see it, I want to say it. And then I want them to do it. And that doesn't make a good coach.
It's always interesting when you go from coach to mentor, and when your coach wants to slap you, it's like, well,
Yeah. I have been known to do the timeout and say, can I mentor for a moment, or if I'm meant to be coaching. But now I don't use the labels or the words. I use the outcome. People say, what do you do? I don't say I'm a coach or I'm a mentor. I am because that's not what they have asked. What do you do? I help you get that message in that book out of your head, into print, into the market, and touching lives. It doesn't matter if I'm coaching, mentoring, guiding, teaching, speaking, whipping, don't know where people get that idea, but they always laugh and say, is there a whip? Anyway, whatever I have to do, if they are determined to have that outcome, then I am determined to help and just do whatever it takes. So yeah, I don't like those labels anymore.
Do you think people get you?
The right people get me, and I get them. That's the other thing that comes with, maturity, if you want to call it that, a bit of wisdom about who is right for you. I know it's been said many times, but you want to be aware of the relationships that you have, both personally and professionally, and be with people you like, work with people you like as far as you can. Some people don't have the choice if they're employed and they're told to work with a client, and but when you run your own business, there is no excuse for working with somebody you don't like, being unhappy with the situation, not changing it. My mom wrote a book on my program. We published it. It's a great book for estate agents. It's called How to Be a Realtor and Still Have a Life. Oh, that's it's called Realtor Rescue. The strapline is How to Be a Realtor and Still Have a Life. And one of her chapters is about avoiding toxic people and customers. And just, life's too short. I learned it from her, maybe, that discerning, we have a choice most of the time.
It's quite something, I suppose, with realtors. You're dealing with somebody's, that's their home, that's their cave.
Yeah.
And they might be forced out of the cave. They might be happy to get rid of the cave.
Well, when they're looking for a new cave, they're excited. Well, they're excited when they find a place that they like and they want to put a bid on and stuff. But I think people underestimate the importance of using a good guide be it a coach, a mentor, a realtor, a professional, they can go, oh, okay, this person knows what they're doing. I'm exactly the same as my mom in that sense, that I can guide someone. But going back to your question, only if people get that, only if they appreciate the value, if they see that it's, better, faster, more efficient, more effective, working with someone than trying to DIY everything in your life and business. That's really what it comes down to. You might find this as well. Some people, they fight you, and you have a certain way you want to work. I mean, I'm trying to fit in with this mode. I don't normally do such long interviews, but we had an agreement, didn't we? So why would I say, oh yeah, but no, I'm only going to do 40 minutes. Why would I do that? It's not my process. You know what works.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
No, it's interesting. It's all for different people, Just curious, what's a guilty pleasure for you?
Guilty pleasure. Sunbathing. I'm saying this now. I have a bit of color because where possible, I look at the weather app, I see what's coming up. I will work, early in the morning or late at night to carve out a couple hours in the middle of the day if it's going to be sunny. I always think it's a shame to work all day and then, when you have free time, it's dark outside. So this is real for me right now because we're going through the heat wave, and because I haven't been on holiday to a hot place. I mean, nobody has this year. Well, some have, but very few. And the sun generally just soaking it up. I'm lucky my skin can take it.
Not like us pasty white Irish people,
I
we're
was not going to say anything. I'm just.
I go white, pink, white. That's about the height of my tanning,
You
but
be careful. No, seriously, slap that factor 50 on. I mean, I put 15 on and I get color and I'm happy. But I love it.
I've got my hair to protect me, so we're all good.
Oh.
Oh, good. So, I mean, leisure and pleasure for you then, what does that look like?
So, it's different now because with my family being in the States, we almost always had, for about 25 years, we went back there for 3 or 4 weeks every summer. That was kind of the thing we did. So it was, they get a proper summer, most of the States. And where my parents were outside of New York, so nice weather, being with family, letting the kids spend time with their grandparents, the whole, getting them back to, my roots and teaching them about the culture a bit and stuff like that. That's all, the kids grew up and weren't able to come with us every time. We weren't able to always to take 3 or 4 weeks, for various things. But we always did a lot of that. So we didn't do other holidays that some people might do. We went to Cyprus once, one of the Greek islands once, and, a few little things like that. But city breaks, I think it's just because my husband and I are both interested in history and people and cultures and food, and he's interested in architecture, photography, the visual side of things. I'll chit chat with people and learn some of the language, and but seeing different cities, like seeing as many places as we can. So I'd prefer to have 5 or 6 city breaks rather than 14 days lying on a beach. That's, we've never done that. I've never been on a cruise. I've never been on a 14-day holiday. Once. I don't like to stay in one place too much. I like variety, if you haven't guessed.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great. It's great to see, and obviously the variety of languages, the variety of exposure of different people and all the rest, I mean, just to circle back, because, I mean, you talked about, we have a default language as such, but, I mean, I know some people are saying when they're fully immersed in, eventually they think in a different language after a long enough period of time.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of that, I mean, do you think you were actually, because you mentioned there jokingly, you said, maybe you're sort of Latin blood, that kind of thing. Do you think there is something there, or do you...
Well, the 3 things, again, this is not my content, but I've heard it so many times. The 3 things that you want to look at to see if you really are thinking in another language is when you count, if you count things without thinking, do you count, which language do you count in? Which language do you dream in? I don't think I dream with words, but you know, that's what people say. And the third one is swearing or cursing. So, and I still curse in Spanish. If something happens, that's what comes out of my mouth. And the kids, funny enough, I said they didn't want to learn Spanish, but you know, that they love the swearing expressions. It was fun, you know, they, ooh, we're not supposed to be saying this, so let's say it again and again. And those are the ways in which I knew I was really, truly immersed. I also, when I went to Argentina, I was lucky. I had already studied 7 years of Spanish. The language was good. My accent was okay. But I just said, I'm not going to speak any English while I'm here for a whole year. And there were about 30, I think, 30 people who went to different parts of Argentina. And we didn't see each other that much or talk to each other. Somewhere in my city, there were 2 or 3. And they wanted to speak in English. I was like, no, it's not why I'm here. And in the family and in the school. And I also wanted to, when I was in Argentina, I wanted to finish my studies so that I won't lose the year and have to repeat it. I mean, who wants to do an extra year of school? No one usually. So I had to pass all of my exams in Spanish at the end of the year. Oh, bless you. And I wanted to perfect it. I was listening and trying to get the accent. And it was so wonderful that in the last few months of my year there, I'd be at a party and someone would say, but what part of Argentina are you from? They just couldn't tell, and they never would have guessed that I was from the States. And I loved that. I guess it's the, you know, the act, or, you know, oh, I'm being someone else, you know, but it was fun as well. And it was a real achievement. How did we get onto this? I'm so sorry.
No, we're just talking about it in terms of your default language, but it's
yeah.
it's so true, and that, you know, and you can see your language, your expression, you're giving a shimmy of the shoulders there, the whole thing, you know, which is great, because obviously that's such a strong resonance for you.
Yeah, I don't do enough with it, but you know, I've got a few businesses to run. I have investors. I have, you know, other shareholders and stakeholders, and you know, I can't just do whatever the heck I want. So one of the things that's kind of back burner is doing anything important with language right now. I mean, I had a small chat with someone in Spanish the other day, but yeah, it's always there. And yeah, I have family in Argentina. Well, my adopted family. So yeah, they're understanding, but we're busy.
A while ago, you talked about communication being on multiple levels, right? So it's not just the words you're using, and even you mentioned there in terms of dreaming that you don't dream in language. Can
I
you?
don't think I do. I don't wait. I mean, I do remember my dreams sometimes, you know, less now than when I was younger. I don't know why that is. Somebody else can come on the show and say why that is. I don't remember specific words. So I don't know if I use language, but I don't remember when I wake up in the morning, words are not there. And I don't, yeah, I don't know is the answer. You know, you'd have to put electrodes in my head and measure it, and someone else could, you know, figure out. But I use words in my waking life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, as we all do.
So tell me, you were, I mean, from sales training, you're out of college into sales training, and well, sales and sales training and moving on. So what point did Tony Robbins come into all this then?
Okay, so this is the Steve Jobs Connect the Dots. Yeah, let's join up these dots. I was a sales trainer in an organization where that training function got taken over by a marketing department. I had already started studying for my MBA, so that was lucky that I already had a marketing interest. And when I came to the UK, I had already had the exposure to Tony Robbins through the training department marketing, but I did more with it. So I did, you know, more reading, more studying, and I did marketing for 15 years. So that was, I think that was pure luck. When I finished and I went self-employed, so when I finished my corporate career, I had more freedom of time, as you do. And I chose to do more Tony Robbins events and get very involved. I think one year I probably did 7 or 8 events, and you know, that was my choice, and it was related to my business, my coaching. And when I took the coaching business, and turned it into the book midwife and decided that I would only coach people with book ideas, then everything came together. Books, book marketing, coaching, my, everything, my whole background. And it made total sense to me. I mean, it still does. And it's lovely when you can just discard everything else and say, right, this is what I do. So some people say, oh my gosh, Mindy, you do so many things. No, I only do one thing. I help people with their clarity of message, get it in the form of a book, publish it, and get it out there and give them an ROI on their IP or their wisdom or their story. So it made total sense to me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I suppose, yeah. And as you say, they go hand in hand. You get marketing, the marketing of the person, the person has a story, you market the story. Yeah, I can see how they sort of intertwined really, right?
Yep, exactly. And, fair play to anybody who wants to run multiple businesses that have nothing to do with each other, or they need that kind of variety. I think it's helpful to have, the companies under our umbrella, and, there's always a sister company to help out with something. And, it works for us. Some of my team members do work for both companies. And, that's, it just makes things simpler for us.
Talk to me a bit about your own sort of internal language and I hate to use the words, but maybe critic here. Do you have an internal critic? I usually say to people, do you hear voices, and that generally sort of go, no, I'm not admitting to that, but.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, when I'm not doing something as well or as fast as I could be, or it's if I'm avoiding something, I talk to myself. I've had periods of time where I haven't exercised for months and I've had excuses, and exercise is a good one because we all know that we should move our bodies. And I trained for a half marathon. You mentioned a marathon before. And I was quite proud of myself. The first one I didn't train very much, but I wasn't my age now. And I did that. And then 7 years went by and I thought, I'll do another one. And so I, read up a bit more and tried to do a proper training plan for 12 weeks and all of this. And I didn't get the result that I wanted. And my knee I was carrying more weight than I wanted to. And my knee was susceptible to an injury. Well, that was related to me running in a pair of high heels in Brussels, but that my husband reminds me of the day I heard it, but I think it was already weakened by doing all this stuff. Then, of course, it was like, I can't run because of my knee. And there were probably many other things I could have done, but I saw myself getting into this pattern of excuses. I'm too busy with the business anyway, and blah, blah, blah. And then I got the knee operation, and now I'm recovering from I know, honestly, I had every excuse under the sun. So when I look back now, I'm not proud of that time. Now, I am running or doing some kind of exercise or at the gym 3 times a week because that's what I want to do. That's what I choose to do. And I even say in my head, because I said I would. That's a trendy millennial phrase, apparently, because I said I would. And that just gets me going. So I'm not sure that the inner critic is actually speaking in words, because I can't recognize any phrases that it's saying, but it's a feeling that you're making excuses, Mindy, you're not doing what you should be doing. It's a feeling more than those words. But then the words that I use are the sort of affirmations and statements that I use to counter that. If that makes sense.
No, it does. It makes total sense, and I'm curious going on, and even to circle back, and I know in terms of the TED Talk you did, and there's a question I would ask a lot of guests and saying, do you love yourself? Do you like yourself? Do you value yourself?
Yes, yes, and yes. But it's a spectrum, could you, I don't know if you think that it's binary, yes or no. I think, each of those is a bit of a spectrum. I like lots of aspects about myself, and generally, I like and love myself and definitely respect myself. But are there times when, I'm not true to my values, and there's times when I forget about that? Yeah. But, so generally, You
Mm.
know, whatever, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, yes. And I think even if there's aspects of yourself that you don't like, you're right, this is straight from the TED Talk.
Mm.
There are aspects of yourself that you want to change, loving yourself enough to recognize it and do something about it intentionally and with that self-care, you know, then you're moving forward. You're, you know, we're all a work in progress, aren't we, Pete?
Mm.
So you're never there. I mean, you can be happy with the person you are, but if there's things that you want to do or things you want to tweak, there's nothing wrong with you for saying, you know what, I'd like to be a little less impulsive. And I have learned to be much less impulsive than I was in my 20s. Or I'd like to learn, you know, not to snap at people. And you can learn that. And I, you know, so that's, I think that is how you prove you love yourself, by being honest and recognizing things that you could improve about yourself, deciding, you know what, I want to do that, I want to change that, or I'm not willing to do what it takes, or, you know, but that deciding. And then, you know, changing yourself lovingly, forgiving yourself if you make the odd stumble, you know, when you're trying out something new.
Can I ask, I mean, how do you fundamentally, you know, and the example of changing something, you know, and you talked about being, um, you know, sort of changing your traits. I mean, how do you measure, or how do you check that it's being done for you and for the right purposes, and not so that somebody will be like you more and therefore it's fulfilling an ego purpose or some other alternative purpose? How do you sense check it?
So can I call you out on the judgment in that question?
Please.
Because whatever reason you have is valid for you. I'm speaking to the viewers and listeners now.
Mm.
There is no wrong reason. If you want people to like you, there is nothing wrong with that. If you recognize a trait in yourself that you know is you know, off-putting to others, there's nothing wrong with, you know, trying to work on that trait. And so I'm really, really careful, and it's your choice, but I try not to make people wrong, which is interesting because it's a fine line between saying, you know, you want to change this thing, but it doesn't mean you're wrong the way you are. That's the distinction. And it doesn't mean that your intention is ever wrong. So I would rather somebody take the time, be thoughtful. You know, I mean, that's what I work on every single day is thoughtful leadership, and thoughtful leadership and management of yourself and your thoughts. Because recognizing that you want to do something different and then choosing to do it and then taking the action, you know, that's a beautiful thing. So I'd rather focus on that, and, you know, appreciating that we are a work in progress, and life is just a series of trial and error and successes.
I have two questions, and you brought it up there in terms of what is thoughtful?
Oh, right, that's the first question.
That's the
Okay.
first question. Sorry.
So the reason why I started using the word thoughtful, and especially the term thoughtful leadership, is because thought leadership, which is what I was speaking about in 24 Karat Bold, and the term was becoming more well known, it was starting to become abused, in my opinion. So people would just throw the term around, oh, thought leadership, or, you know, we're doing thought leadership. I mean, that phrase really doesn't resonate with me. We're doing thought leadership. Yeah. And then the people who would just say, I'm a thought leader, or put that in their LinkedIn profile. And so I began to look at what was wrong with that. I mean, without making people wrong, the trend was wrong because it wasn't achieving thought leadership at all. And I arrived at this conclusion that much of what is called thought leadership doesn't have a lot of thought in it. It's people churning stuff out, and you know, and I'm not a big believer in cheating, and that seems like cheating. Like, let me just crank out an article and call it thought leadership. No. Your market has to call you a thought leadership, and they have to call your content thought leadership. So, not being willing to leave that bone alone, I just started working on that concept and how can you be more thoughtful with your thought leadership, with your content, with your ideas. And a big part of being thoughtful is stopping and reflecting, but another big part of it is being honest, looking in the mirror and saying, you know what, that's not good enough. It's not original enough. It's not exciting or disruptive enough. It's that is the key. The willingness to look and then being honest about what you see. That's where my work has gone. And that is why I will talk and talk and talk to people to help them discover whether they are being honest. So we haven't learned to do this. Most people are not self-aware at all. And we have all these things going on in society. But if you can look at your own stuff and have a higher standard for yourself, and then decide if you're willing to go for that higher standard or not. If you're willing to go for it, you can end up being a thought leader because you've been thoughtful. So that's how I put the two things together.
Essentially, you're almost comparing the two words, and I notice on your book cover there, you sort of almost the speech bubble. The full is part of kind of is highlighted on its own to be separate, but also together.
Yeah, that's one of our designers. We're, I'm not going to say it. Let's just say I allow others to use their visual skills, and I appreciate and acknowledge, how people can add to my words. Yes, you can be a thought leader, and usually, and what it takes nowadays, I think, is more thought. Therefore, I think what's more important is being thoughtful in both senses of the word. Because, you've got the heart. Oh, that's so thoughtful. We need more of that for sure. And also, you know what? Let me just be thoughtful. Let me think about that thing a little bit more than I was going to, or a little bit more than the next person, because it's necessary.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it's the perception of language. I mean, you could look at that, and I must say I love pulling words apart as well, and sort of all the connotations, permutations of it, and because it'd be you're full of thought, therefore you're thoughtful, and I don't know, depends where you want to go.
Well, where my stuff goes is, what do you do with it? Do you put enough thought into the things that you're putting out into the world? Do you put the right amount of thought? And you can get help. There are processes that are available here and elsewhere to help people with their thinking. Again, we're not necessarily taught to think through things to the level that is now required. We're in a bit of a soundbite society. We're in a bit of a surface level, lack of attention span situation, trying to be polite, but your thoughts are never going to come out in a series of tweets the way they would in something that is more substantive, that has had more thought put into it.
I'm curious, does that actually, so in terms of your clients, your avatars, your who you work with, I mean, are these kind of traits of people that you sort of like to work with, or do you have a preference?
I like to work with people who are willing to open up, have a look in the mirror, like I was saying before. They may not know how to do the kind of thinking. In fact, most don't, but it's about the attitude. It's about that when they look and they think, I'm not willing to put a book or a speech out there that isn't saying something new. I'm not willing to be a Me Too. I'm not willing to, just do something for the sake of it or add to the noise. If they have that intention, they don't have to know how. That's why the experts exist. That's why I do what I do. Then we work together very, very well. I'm never going to be the expert on their topic or subject, and I don't want to be, and they don't want me to be, and then they don't need me to be. But how to refine those ideas, how to find those angles, how to bring something truly new and interesting and original into the world, that's what people need. Because the same old, is it's not working. We've got lots of problems in our society. So yeah, that's I like working with positive people who think, you know what, I really do want to make a difference, but they are not going to do it just doing what everybody else does.
How do you respond to the likes? I mean, there's sort of comments and people say there's no such thing as an original thought anymore.
Uh, I don't think that matters. I think there is always an authentic way to put something across. There is always a new angle. There is always an insight. And there are always those people who never heard the idea before. So when you say it, it's new to them. You know, people say, oh, you know, it's been said, it's been done. And that stops a lot of people, by the way. My view is your particular book, let's take the book, because the book Midwife is our best known brand. Your book has never been said or done. Your content, your stories, your insights that came, your strings of words, you know, that has not been seen. And I'm fond of saying there are a lot of how to build wealth and how to get fit and lose weight kind of books. And yet when a new one comes out, what do people do? They buy it. Why? Because they still are trying to get to that goal. So there's room for your message and your book. There is room for your take on the world. There is definitely, I have a talk that I've been known to do where I just say to people, don't look, don't compare, don't even look, just run your race. You know, that there's no need to worry about what else is out there. And the more you look, actually, this is, you know, the content in the Thoughtful Leader. The more you look, the more you do start to do what they call compare and despair. Don't look, don't even look. And then you can keep yourself in your bubble and you'll be surprised that you do actually have original ideas. So, you know, we don't worry about that stuff here.
You're, I was going to ask you about leaders, but it's probably too boring a question. I'm more curious, really. So your first book was a 10-year process, and that was there was a lot tied to that, right?
Right.
Talk to us about book 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You know what that process, it appears, has accelerated, or has it? You tell me.
Yeah. Well, let me chat with you instead of chatting about my books, because, you know, that's just me. We've had 1,000 people go through the Book Midwife programs, and what they have found is, with a process that they're willing to plug into, and with a few hours a week, so we do a 90-day program, 3 months, they can get their whole book done, because it's got focus, because it's you know, part of a process, and the method we use has been improved over the years, and it's been tried and tested. We've won something like 17 awards, or won and been finalists. It works. It's all about being efficient, and, you know, like with anything, if there's a process, stick to it. If you know, if you're looking at a recipe, follow it. Don't start changing things. It's not going to come out the same. So, you know, that's what we do here. I'm very, very proud of the Book Midwife methodology. It's, you know, it's changed things for people who were at risk of never writing their book, taking too long, or ending up with something that wasn't quite right in so many different ways. We take care of all of that. And it's all about being intentional. It's all about being thoughtful. And it's about following a proven process. I think that's what you asked.
No, absolutely. And I mean, is it, you know, it's a bit like when they say when you're building a house or designing a house, your third one's your best one. Is that the case? Is that the case with books?
I never heard that. You see, there's always someone who has never heard something. So no, not necessarily, because some people, most people will only ever write one. Okay. So the phrase we use at the Book Midwife is make sure it's the best it can be. Give yourself a better chance, because if you are only going to write one book in your lifetime, which many people will just write one, you want it to be the best it can be so it can have its best chance in the market. Those are the two things that drive our companies. Making sure it's the best it can be, and that has lots of different aspects to it. You know, the right length, the right content, the right balance, the right style, the right tone, you know, so many things. and giving it its best chance in the market, which starts at the planning stage. So I really want to work with people before they write their book. I don't know why they think a midwife comes in right at the end, maybe because the metaphor, she's not always there in the bed with you at conception time. But since we are, then we do the fertility clinic as well. So, that's exhausting the metaphor. But working with someone right from the beginning means that we can have some input and help with the ideation, with conception, the concept, with, the structure, the framework, the outline, the format. You're not on your own. A lot of people struggle and they think, well, let me write my first draft and then bring someone in. We won't touch it. I won't even look. So this is where I'm not being disruptive for the sake of it, but I am talking about something that makes more sense, something that saves more time. Why would you want to go about something that way? Why would you want to build the house and then bring the architect in to see if you've done it right? So, yeah, we're very firm on that point. There's only one. I'll only do one session with someone who's already written their book, and it almost always ends up with a lot of, you need to shorten this, lengthen that, expand this, research that, move this, blah 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 blah, and then it's not fun for anybody, especially us. I want to work with somebody when it's a blank sheet and all possibilities are still open to them. That's when I do my best work. And anybody who is planning a book, that could be their only book, well, why wouldn't they want that kind of input and help and guidance right from the beginning? So you've got right to the heart of the book midwife mission and values. Let us hold your hand all the way from conception to the birth.
I love that. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I love that the passion you sort of conducted there during that, I really sort of got a sense of flow, and that's what I was going to ask you in terms of where is your flow state? What gets the juices flowing and you at your best?
That the word possibility, I heard myself say it. When I say it, I expand. I mean, imagine that you had unlimited and infinite possibilities available to you in whatever you're doing. So, if you're watching this, you may not want to write a book, fair enough, but imagine that for your next career move or your next project, or imagine that all possibilities would still be open to you. That is very exciting because I'm an expansive, open kind of person. I'm that gets me going. I don't like shutting things down, except when we're making decisions about the book, we say it's going to be this and not that. We are closing off, but when we start, all possibilities are still open. That's the time to engage on any project. That's the time to bring in a professional and engage that person and follow their blimmin' process if they've set one up. Don't fight it. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. You can stand on the shoulders of people who've gone before. And like I say, we have honed it over the years, but 1,000 people have gone before. And it's very slick and very, very good what we do. So thank you for asking about it.
No, absolutely. I mean, I just wonder, is it like, people's children, and I have my own kids, everyone's convinced that their child is beautiful and the most special in the world. Is a book similar?
Let me think of that analogy, because I think it's kind of like, it takes a village to raise a child. So there's always other people involved, a grandparent or whatever. So if you take advice from the grandmother, so in one of my children, I won't say which, was not sleeping very well, and just was a bit cranky. And my mom said, put them on their tummy. I said, oh, no, we're not allowed to do that. My mom said, for goodness sakes, this is like, centuries old, millennial old wisdom. And it was like a miracle. And, make sure the head is to the side. I mean, this is what we do. Please, I'm not giving any parenting advice. Don't, but it was a blissful sleep. It was a blissful time for me as well, knowing that they were sleeping so well. So I listened to someone else who had experience. That's a very simple example. I don't know why it came into my head. Probably because I'm talking about babies and midwives and stuff like that. Yeah, so you think your child is beautiful. If you've written the book yourself, you're not going to listen to someone else. But if you've, brought someone else into the experience, and you both respectfully listen to each other, then you can get a better result. Your child can sleep well. Your book can be even better. Your meal can really shine.
That makes a lot of sense, and I think respect is a very strong word too. Is there's no right, there's no wrong. It's just it is, and that's okay.
Well, we're right. We're usually right when we have advice about a book. I mean, I don't force anyone to do things, but I have words that I use as, like I strongly recommend, and if I'm publishing it, then we have to approve the title and various things like that.
Sure. No, it makes a lot of sense. You mentioned the word proud there, and can I just ask, I mean, what sort of standout proud moments do you have in your life?
I'm proud. I'm proud of setting up my businesses. I'm proud of when I was in corporate, set up a new function, a call center that saved the company $1 million and had 26 people in work, and fantastic work that we did. I'm very proud of my kids who are fully grown in their 20s, each one pursuing their own passions. I'm proud of sticking to my values, even when it's hard. That there's times, like I was talking about, clients that you don't want to be working with, and it might not be toxic per se, but you just have a feeling. And when I've not been tempted to just say, oh, but they're offering me money, and said, I don't think it's a good fit. And other times when I've followed my values. So when I've, given myself nutrition and exercise the way I want to, and, stuff like that. And, the song, what have you done today to make you feel proud? I really do think about it every day. Well, I don't think about it, the song, but I think, every day, just look back and say, what have I done today to make me feel proud? So it's not the huge achievements. It could be the little ones as well.
Mm. No, that's great. I mean, it's so true that actually we sort of recognize as well what we're doing and how we're doing it. So you mentioned values there. What are your standout values?
I think I'm talking about growth. I'm talking about openness, being real with people, being real with yourself, and honesty, I guess you could call it, integrity, authenticity. There's so many words around it, but that's the concept.
Mm.
And growth for me is being willing to learn something new, change something, recognize and then change something about yourself, enhance your life or someone else's life. Enhancement and just intention, caring, being thoughtful. Those are my top values.
And if we were to sort of pin a superpower to you, or we were to stick a cape on you, what would be your superpower?
Encourager. There's something called the core process, which is another one of those tools that I can work with, but don't tend to do it now. But my own core process is encouraging spirit. And I like that phrase because I know how we arrived at it. And I like to think I am an encouraging spirit, but my work is all about encouraging the spirit of something. So core process means it runs through you, your life, everything you do, it's core to you. So I know that's my core because, that just feels, I can feel it to my core. Encouraging spirit.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And are you good? I mean, you talked about almost referring back to your core and who you are. Are you good at connecting to yourself and understanding yourself?
I would say so.
Hmm.
I think so.
Does that come naturally, or something you have to work at for you?
I think I've learned it through all the personal development work. It comes naturally now, but it's something that, I think you need to practice. And you also need, as I've been saying so many times, in an interesting theme today about catching yourself, recognizing something, and then choosing to change it or not. But that's the bit. So being honest about your skills, whatever. I don't call them strengths and weaknesses, because you could work on anything and make it stronger, but it's about your behavior. And I think that that's the area where people really do need to become more self-aware. And I'm quite self-aware. I'm really good at recognizing when I get it wrong, apologizing the right way. And one time I got hundreds of likes on a public apology to one of my team members. It occurred to me that I got it very wrong. And I don't even know if I sent a personal message first. I know I went on Facebook and said, and here's why I'm sorry. And that, I really, and people were like, wow, but why don't we all do that? And it just made me feel great, made them feel great. And it was, something that I think, because it was so rare, people were surprised to see that. That's just one example of when you get it wrong, recognizing it, correcting it quickly, not being too proud. I don't think I'm too proud to, admit anything. It's just me. So I don't put on airs. I don't, like, things are not perfect. I don't try to pretend to be perfect, because you can't.
Is there a certain ethos or mantra then that you try to live to, in terms of, because you mentioned this so much, but you come back to a core?
Well, I do believe that I'm blessed with a lot of energy, and that I choose to share it with others. So I call it abundant energy. And before I called it positive energy. So let's call it abundant positive energy. And that's one of the things, I would like to inspire others, but I can't control whether they feel inspired or not. The one thing I can control is my energy and how I share it. So that's one thing. And another important strand is encouraging others to live their life, to be themselves, and to find a way to live their truth. Speak their truth, that's our work, but live their truth. So that's so important, because otherwise, you go through your whole life, and if you've never lived your truth, oh my gosh, how sad is that?
It's funny, that question I mentioned earlier about whether you like yourself and you love yourself. I mean, it's scary, and those that don't make it on the podcast, and there's people I'd mentor and stuff, it's scary when the answer you get is no, and people that just don't like themselves.
Yeah, no, I do know that. I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about your last question, but I still think that all possibilities are still open, and if they are willing and open to it, then they can learn to like themselves, be proud of themselves, respect themselves. I really believe that it's never too late unless you're dead.
Absolutely. Funny, I've got this picture in my head now of a dancing ape as the abundant positive energy.
Oh, that's not very nice. I know my name is Gibbins-Klein, but still, come on now.
No, it's the abundant positive energy. So the acronym came into play. So
a monkey, not an ape. Come
on. So tell me, what's a really juicy word for you? Because I mean, obviously you're a linguistic sort of a person, and there's certain words that stand out.
Juicy word. I can't just pick one. How can you do this to me? I'm trying to think of a word. I mean, I use the word amazing a lot, but so do a lot of people. I like the word abundant, as you have recognized. I can't pick one. I'm sorry if you were expecting one word, but I use so many.
I know, it's great. I mean, it's that sort of love of words too, that you see so many that, certain words seems to stand out for people.
No, I don't think so. Possibility. If you think of the words that have come up the most during the time we've been talking, abundant, possibility, and energy.
That's awesome. So tell me, what's fire in the belly for you? What's your fire in the belly? Summarize 1 or 2 words. Where would we be going? What is your answer?
Living your truth, speaking your truth, and living your truth. I mean, they're not really different. Some people live their truth and they are not explicitly speaking it, so that they don't speak, blog about it, write books, but they're still living it. Some people really need to express themselves, so then it's speak your truth, because if you have something to say and you're not saying it, find a way, just decide if it's really important and find a way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Because if you have a last thought, what do you want people to take away from interacting with you, from hearing you? I mean, what's the lasting message?
Be thoughtful in every sense of the word, because learning to, I have a very interesting way of speaking. I know I do. I know I pause a lot. And it's because I trained myself not to say I think it's also because I'm thoughtful in between my words, my sentences. Just slow down, stop, think, reflect, give yourself that gift. Choose how you want to be. Choose to work on anything you want to work on for any reason. And then go for it. And if you need help, it's available. There's coaches for every single possible thing in the world. But give yourself that time to reflect, choose, and then go.
Mindy, there's so much there. So I thank you for coming on. So tell us, how can people follow you, track you, hunt you down, stalk you, get in touch with you?
So most people remember Book Midwife. That's an easy phrase. So Book Midwife on Twitter, Instagram, bookmidwife.com, Book Midwife, Facebook, everything. The books are there. They've been there the whole time. And 24 Karat Bold is the first one to read if you haven't read any of my books. But because my name is kind of long, Mindy Gibbins-Klein, and people can spell it, lots of different ways, including Gibbons, like the monkey, I've created a bit of an alter ego, Mindy GK. So mindygk.com and Mindy GK on Twitter and Mindy GK everywhere else. You'll find me, and that's kind of an umbrella, that's a hub. So one of those things, just find me, just connect. I have a very open attitude about connecting. I'm always happy to answer a question. I will be delighted to get to know you and help you in any way I can.
Mindy, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for sharing so much, and we look forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you. It's been a delightful experience. Take care.